Hi and welcome to another episode, and what we've got here is a professional headphone amplifier providing the best sound effect. It's also known as a DAC152. The UK probably just means UK as in United Kingdom. Picked this up from Amazon. I was asking out on Twitter the other day of what sort of things I could possibly get, because what I want to be able to do is increase the audio output, or the volume really, from my MIDI Mountain. I'm pointing across there as if you can see it, but here's a quick picture. So everything from an MT32 up to a Roland MT32 up to a Yamaha MU2000 EX, because as you've seen in a previous episode I zapped that. But I've got 8 different MIDI devices in my MIDI Mountain, and even though they can all be pushed to full volume and the output can go to my Roland DM2100 2.1 speakers stroke monitors, depending on what you want to know them as. The thing is that the audio from there is good, but the display that I got for Christmas from my friends, with sort of a Spectrum display thing, it doesn't get a decent enough of oomph out of the back of the machines to be able to do a decent display on that. So I wanted an amplifier, and I thought a preamp would do, and I bought some cheap preamps and they just didn't work, so I sent them back. As I say, I asked out on Twitter and some people came back with some fantastic ideas and some very expensive things which I just can't afford to put towards that. So thank you very much for them to give up some ideas. But in the meantime, while I was asking them, I had already ordered this from Amazon to see if this would be okay. Letting the cat out of the bag, I have already opened this and tested it, and it works perfectly fine. So I'm just doing a bit unboxing really. So you get a little manual for your DAC152, and as you can see, it's got some volume controls on the front of it. Basically what you can do is put in 3 different inputs, but then you can send it out over 4 different sets of headphones, stroke speakers. I mean, it really is meant for headphones, but why not active speakers, which means they're powered. So you got a USB charger looking thing, tiny little rating. It pushes out 5 volts at 2000 milliamps. It kind of looks like the Galaxy ones, doesn't it? Samsung Galaxy phones. So inside you've got RCA stereo to stereo, RCA 3.5mm jacks, and then a barrel but USB cable. And inside here, it's nice and protected. It has got some weight, this. It's made out of metal, not just plastic. So let's shift this box out of the way so we can have a proper talk about it. Ooh, let's get it the right way around. So apart from the wires and everything else that we talked about before, what we have got is at the back, we've got 5 volts, 2 amps in, 3.5mm, 6.35mm, and right and left RCA connections, or phono if you want to call them that. And at the front we've got 6.35s 4 times, and we've got 3.5mm 4 times. And then we've got the volume controls across the top, depending which one you want to do at the front. But also what's interesting with this is, obviously we've got a power button, which I'll plug in and show you in a moment. You've got a stereo stroke mono switch. The idea with that is that you actually can have more headphones connected up, but obviously you're just being fed mono, but it forces the stereo sound coming in to be mono. So it means that if there's a basic connection at the other end, one person's not just going to get everything from the left and everything from the right. They would be forced to be, the left and the right's forced into being mono. Might come in useful to somebody. And then we have buttons to be able to mute the RCA, the 6.35 and the 3.5mm. So you can mute everything. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but you can do. It's just a side effect of being able to do. But for me, I'll be able to have the MIDI Mountain coming in, and for example I could have the 3.5 going from my main computer, so that I've got the MIDI Mountain music coming in and I've got the audio from the computer as I just said, but it would mean that the special effects were coming through here, but the music was getting fed in from here, but then out the front of course fed off to one set of speakers. Or I could pump the music in through this 6.35, it doesn't really matter, but the point is the options there, but obviously the mixing of the audio would have to be done at that end, not here. Basically it's just either it's on or not, but it does mix those channels in. And then at the front of course you've got your different volume controls, and for me this means that I'll be able to push out audio off to my speakers, but also off to the Spectrum display thing that I got for Christmas. And I realise that won't be a fair representation of the audio, but at the same time I don't need it to do a fair representation. It's just an option that I could have, or quite frankly one thing I'm thinking of doing is, again it might sound of a silly thing to do, but if I get the correct wiring I could bring the sound from my computer to go into this, and then I can also then means that I can pass that off to my speakers on this side, the 2.1, instead of the direction I normally sit, which is that direction. But for that I've got a 3.5, I've got a 5.1 surround sound system going on. That would mean that I could actually have sound coming from my computer, but in this direction coming through the 2.1, but also I could have it that the audio that I normally have for the 2.1 that I've got rigged up here would actually get fed out to here and back into my surround sound speakers, because it has a different back option as well, so that I can get the 2.1 facing that way. Bit of a silly way of doing things, I know, but with the correct wiring I can do all of that, and that also gives me control of the volume and a chance to be able to do something like that. So anyway, let's get it plugged in and show you the differences between it plugged in and the audio getting recorded directly from the MIDI Mountain, and then what it sounds like being fed through this first. And hopefully, if there is any difference, it's very, very small, but hopefully you don't hear anything at all in difference. So the first lot you heard was the MIDI Mountain getting pumped into this and then back out again, and then you've just heard a recording of where it's just going straight through without this at all. And hopefully you've not heard any real difference, nothing to write home about if there is. For my little setup here, from what I can hear, it's fair enough. I don't need it to get ridiculously loud and it's that clipping because it's too loud, or start crackling and things. I just don't need it to get that loud. So as long as I can just get a little bit more oomph out of it, I suppose, it's good enough for me. But thank you yet again to all the people that gave tips and ideas on what to get on Twitter back a few days ago. But apart from that, I'll put a link in the description for this. There's links in the description for Discord and how to become a patron. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button. But as always, happy gaming.